Now, South Africa's ruling African National Congress, ANC, has re-elected President Cyril Ramaphosa as its leader for a second 5-year term, despite a brewing scandal over a huge cash theft at his farm. Ramaphosa garnered 2,476 votes for the post of party president against 1,897 for former Health Minister Zweli Mkhize, the African National Congress election chief Kgalema Motlanthe announced. Ramaphosa's re-election opens way to a second term as South Africa's president, as the ANC has an absolute majority in parliament, which selects the head of state. More than 4,300 delegates gathered at a conference near Johannesburg cast their ballots on Sunday to appoint top officials, including party president, deputy president, chair and secretary general. Ramaphosa, aged 70, won the contest despite being mired in accusations that he concealed the burglary of a huge amount of cash at his upmarket cattle farm. Simba Chitando, who is an advocate of the High Court of South Africa, joins us now to examine the battle for the ruling party's top post and the president's chances amid challenge from his former health minister and corruption allegations. It's good to have you, Simba, and welcome to the show. Now, let's get straight into it. Of course, now the results are out. We know that it was a tough contest, but I'd like to look at where we're going from here, because the battle lines have been clearly defined within the ANC, and the KwaZulu-Natal province, which of course is the home province of former President Jacob Zuma and former Health Minister Zweli Mkhize, has walked away empty-handed. Now, does this mark the end of Jacob Zuma's political career? Has he lost his political clout in South Africa as far as you're concerned? Or what do you think are his next options?
Thank you for having me. Greetings to your audience. Former President Jacob Zuma is a very powerful individual. This is definitely not the end of his political career. He is seen as an elderly statesperson for the entire region. He occupies a position of a influential kingmaker that will never change. So obviously, I believe his net work has been badly affected by this decision today, or the vote today, but it doesn't necessarily end his power base within South Africa and the region.
Simba, now that the President Ramaphosa has emerged, the ANC leader, I'm just wondering what's his name? I'm trying to remember his name right now. I'm just checking for his name, and that's the former health minister. We were thinking it was going to be a tight race between them. And now that President Ramaphosa has emerged as the ANC leader, what's next for the health minister or the former health minister?
The former health minister still has legal challenges. He's been accused of corruption related to COVID deals, and that is ongoing. So he has his legal challenges that he's facing at the moment. He still occupies a position, an influential position within the ANC, albeit outside the top 6. So his failed bid to become the president of the party doesn't end his political career. There is still another Congress that he can come back. Many people did not foresee, for instance, former Chitando, who has now become the deputy president. People did not foresee that happening. He had suffered setbacks in previous ANC conferences, but he came back. So there's always a possibility that the former minister of health, Mr. Zweli Mkhize, he did very well. Well, he didn't succeed, but he did give the President Ramaphosa a run for his money. So he can come back again. It's not the end for the faction that calls itself the Radical Economic Transformation faction, which is aligned to former President Zuma. So the end of the last time we'll see them, they will probably occupy a space of, I would say, spoilers and kingmakers. They make life very difficult for President Ramaphosa. He has won this vote, but he still has to govern an angry party, a party that is resentful. I think it's important to mention that the KwaZulu-Natal base of the ANC, KwaZulu-Natal is the most populous province in South Africa. And for that reason, they're not to be taken lightly.
Absolutely, Simba. Now, Zweli Mkhize is obviously not the only person who still has legal challenges. President Cyril Ramaphosa himself still needs to answer to the Constitutional Court. I understand the ANC's Integrity Commission has possibly referred to the new ANC National Executive Committee, the new NEC, for consideration. There's still the Reserve Bank, there's still SARS, there's still so many people, and of course there's still the private prosecution as well from former President Jacob Zuma. Let's talk about President Cyril Ramaphosa's date in court in January with regards to the private prosecution charges that he is facing from former President Jacob Zuma. I know there's a lot of intricacies around that. Can you shed more light around these criminal charges?
It's a private prosecution. There's a lot of legal nuances to that case. It's very unusual. It's important that I mention it's very unusual for a criminal proceeding to be instituted by a private individual. Very rarely happens. Normally, it is done by the National Director of Prosecution, the NPA. And in this case, the NPA Ramaphosa's side was saying that the NPA is still investigating and they will take action when they do and when they decide to do so, and if they do so. We don't know that they will. And as you rightly said, there's still some SARS investigations and still some other organs of state who are investigating the current president. And as far as the hearing in January, now that it's gone to that platform in the High Court, it is in my view, it is unlikely. I don't see anything happening there because the courts will, the defendant being Mr. President Ramaphosa will say, well, look, this is an ongoing investigation. You can't prosecute me now. The people that are investigating have not yet done their work. I think the purpose of that private prosecution was to make life very difficult for the president in this conference, not necessarily, pursuing a criminal case that is going to proceed in January. It's unlikely because the evidence hasn't been gathered by the people that are responsible for gathering evidence. It's more a private individual, a disgruntled former president Zuma, who is prosecuting privately the current president. So it's a very unusual situation, and I don't, touch wood, I don't see much happening from that process. But yeah, it's ongoing, and I believe the legal team for the president, Ramaphosa, has said that former President Zuma has got up until the end of today to withdraw those charges. Otherwise, he's going to institute his own charges or his own legal proceedings against former President Zuma. So we don't know. It's a legal drama. It's very complicated. It's back and forth. We'll see what happens. We'll see what steps the current president takes at the end of business today against the former president for the private prosecution, which is set to be heard, as you said, in January. We don't know what will happen, but we'll see.
All right, thank you, Simba. Now, based on the ANC's ill repute when it comes to its method of selecting internal leadership, primarily based on who has the deepest pockets, and that's been illustrated by the ANC national chairperson, would you say it's a matter of time before we start referring to the ANC as potentially the opposition party?
That's a very good question, a very good point. I have it on good authority that various organizations in Europe that deal with the political map of South Africa or Southern Africa are preparing for a situation where there will be coalition government in South Africa. Not just, it's already happened in the provinces, but it will also likely happen nationally, where there is no party, the ANC included, that has an outright majority, because of the ill sentiment towards the ANC, it is very likely that they will not have a full out 50% majority and would have to come to some sort of arrangement with either the Democratic Alliance or the EFF. That is a real possibility, definitely.
Now, what are the possibilities of a growth of the Inkatha Freedom Party of KwaZulu-Natal or other black-fronted political parties such as the EFF? Because we know that the inclination towards the ANC is that South Africans do still have a loyalty towards the Liberation Party and are less likely to shift towards sorry to call it a white party, if I may call it that. Do you think there would be any momentum of maybe the Zumas and those of KZN backing a new party that can gain momentum by 2024?
I doubt that the Zuma faction will then join the Inkatha Freedom Party. I don't see that happening. I think they stand a better chance fighting it out within the ANC at the moment. But we have to consider also the fact that the deputy president of the ANC as of today is former Chitando, who is linked very closely to the radical economic transformation camp. So there is light at the end of the tunnel for the Zuma faction, the RET faction. I don't see them backing the Inkatha Freedom Party when it comes so close already. Today it was a very close one across the line, so they have a chance going forward. That's certain. And also, the ANC is well aware of the fact that it is losing a lot of voters, especially in the Durban area, and they're going to work very hard to appease the Zuma faction. They have to. President Ramaphosa cannot govern the ANC if he doesn't, and they know that he can't if he doesn't reach out. It is I would say, a myopic victory for the current president today, because he's won, but he's got a divided party and divided almost down the middle. He cannot do without him. He cannot do without the president and his supporters. And Paul Mashitile is there as a deputy president, likely to be the president after President Ramaphosa has completed his term. So I would say that the chances of that happening, of the Durban or KwaZulu-Natal province, Zulu provincial backbone of the ANC going a different direction or going out of the party, I don't see that happening.
Well, thank you, Simba. Now, I'm actually curious as to what the everyday South African is thinking at this point in time, in the midst of this scandal, and now the president emerging, the ANC leader, everything that's happened in the past few weeks. What is the average everyday South African thinking in the midst of all this?
The sentiment in South Africa is very negative. Most South Africans are just unhappy. I would say a large number are very unhappy with the current president. They're not happy with his performance during COVID. Not many voters throughout the world, not just South Africa, are happy with politicians for their performance during COVID. We are experiencing a global recession, so South Africa is not being left out of that global recession, and the sentiment is negative. People are angry. People are unhappy with the control that the white population have of the country, which they blame the current president Ramaphosa for. They're not happy with foreign nationals in South Africa, which is why we're seeing a spike in xenophobic violence. So that is up. Hate for all minorities is up. Crime is up. Violent crime is shot up in South Africa. Kidnappings are up. It's very dangerous although Johannesburg has always been dangerous, but Johannesburg has become even more dangerous. The murder rates in Cape Town, I believe, has gone up. It's very dark times. People are angry, and it's showing in the way in which the push for the RET faction to take control of the parts of the country. We saw that too today, but that anger is only just going to increase because they feel, as you said earlier, they feel hard done by. There's a resentment that they're going to walk away because of the province of the ANC is going to walk away with little to nothing. And we have to keep in mind that is where the June protests last year took place. They took place in KwaZulu-Natal, and over 15 billion was destroyed in property and just taking it just off the economic books of the balance sheet. So we are looking at a very difficult, tense time in South Africa.
Now, while we're talking about resentment, let's talk about the possible consequences for dissenting voices within the party, namely Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Lindiwe Sisulu. These are people who potentially, I mean, if it were up to Twitter, they're all on the chopping block. But what's your prediction? How will Cyril Ramaphosa and the new top 7 of the ANC handle these voices that were vocal about President Cyril Ramaphosa having to face, face the wrath of the law with regards to the ongoing Phala Phala Farmgate scandal?
I think it's telling that nothing happened to, there was a disciplinary proceeding, but nothing happened to Nkosazana Zuma, Dlamini Zuma, and that disciplinary hearing, from what I understand. I see President Ramaphosa in a very difficult situation. Does not have the strength politically to take on those two very big names. The Sisulu family has a historical grip on the ANC. She knows that. The current president knows that. They're not going to. I don't see them going after those dissenting voices. They're too strong to take on. You may even see a situation where they maintain their ministerial positions, even though they've outwardly challenged the president. I think last week, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma said that she serves at the will of the president when she was asked whether they would make have a reshuffle and take them out of their current positions in government. We haven't seen any of that. So that gives an indication that the current president he doesn't have the political strength and capital to go after those big names that have outwardly called for him to be removed. He's not strong enough. He simply, he cannot survive that. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening.
Well, thank you, Simba. You painted a picture of frustration and crime having gone up when I asked you earlier about how the average South African is responding to all this that's unfolding with the Ramaphosa scandal. And I'm wondering, when you also interact with them, I think especially because it's also election season here in Nigeria, I'm just wondering, do you get a sense that they're rather docile, or do you get a sense that they're looking to take back their country?
They're definitely not docile. South Africans have never been known to be docile. The politics in this country is very vibrant. They react very quickly when they're angry. South Africa it's always been known as almost reactionary in the manner in which they do their politics, in ways that South Africa's neighbors are not. So there is definitely a feeling that they want to take back their country. What we witnessed this conference was an active attempt to take back their country. The June protests last year, where a lot of property was destroyed, was because of frustration. They felt as though they could not wait to follow a lawful process, an electoral process, or a judicial process, or whatever process that is acceptable in a democracy. Many South Africans are not prepared to wait for it. So I do see things in the country, tensions reaching a very dangerous level where there may be another June protest that we saw last year. Especially if one considers that the one incident with the process last year, or the destruction of the protest last year, was the fact that the former president Simba was arrested. So the current president is well aware that if he moves against former President Zuma's base, there will be a very quick and costly reaction. And again, there's a lot of, on a weekly basis, organized xenophobic attacks against other African nationals in the country, because they feel that they also are a hindrance. So I definitely see between now and the election, tensions getting a lot higher. The perceived enemy, or the people that the populists have grievances against, will be targeted, either protests, violent or not, and or acts of violence, unfortunately. That is definitely a cause of concern, and I would not be exaggerating, given the past of South Africa, to say that there's a real chance that things could boil over before the election.
Well, thank you for that. Absolutely. We're dealing with a highly politicized electorate in South Africa. Simba Chitando, advocate of the South Africa High Court, thank you so much for your time and your insight on this.